Okay, hello, and welcome back to my live stream of Errant Kingdom. We are on the Nomad route, chapter 3. So there are 5 chapters so far for each route. They're doing, releasing each route simultaneously. So it's not like you miss out if you, it's not like a route misses out like with some other games where the different romance routes are released as they're worked on. Um, so yeah, I wasn't sure I'd be able to stream today because we lost power at like 8:45 this morning, and it came back. I'm not sure how, half an hour ago, something like that. So I was able to fix something hot for lunch instead of having to have like a sandwich or something. Um, the When the Night Comes revamp will be released in 2 days on Friday, and I will be continuing to stream that Sunday. The developers have been releasing teasers the past week or so. It's been fun. Another fun thing about losing power, I'm in Southern California, where it's hot, and we have ceiling fans in almost every room in our house. So without power, the ceiling fans were not working. So didn't even have like a slight breeze from that. We just had whatever breeze came in the windows. So that wasn't fun. But power's back. I'm able to stream. It's all good. Let's go ahead and start. Where did it? Natsu, who is. I have the stuff written down and then I bury it. Nasreen Kadir. Nasreen means wild rose, which seems fitting. Her, she's pronouns, and yeah. And Kadir, of course, means capable, powerful. So, yeah, fitting. Alrighty. Gotta rearrange stuff. Okay, here we go. Raiden closes the door and flattens his hands against the wood like he's willing it to stay shut. We're both panting, struggling to catch our breath. I don't think I've ever run that fast before, and I've been chased by far scarier things than people. Were they people? Wielding torches. Or so I think. Maybe not, if the way Raiden is reacting is any indicator. Raiden turns to face me and leans back against the door, his skin pale, but his cheeks ruddy and pink from where we snuck through the underbrush. You can't ever say we don't have adventures together, right? I have a nervous laugh, and he offers me a soft look before reaching out to pluck a leaf from my hair. He flicks it to the floor with a sigh, his shoulders slumping like he's finally decided to relax. Silly question, but I'm guessing you don't know who they are? I think you and I both know it isn't a case of who, but what. So, no, not a fucking clue, which frankly is annoying. He growls and pushes away from the door, circling my tiny house and tugging at his hair. He then rounds on me, his eyes narrowed as he places his hands upon my shoulders and fixes me to the spot with a serious gaze. You have to make a decision, an important one. I'd usually make it alone, but it looks like fate has other ideas with throwing you in the mix. And of course, we're gonna flirt. I quirk an eyebrow at him. Talking about fate already? Well, we've only known each other just over a week. So that gives us an idea of how much time has passed in the course of the day so far. He puts his eyebrow right back. A week is plenty to form a little crush, Nasreen. Just a crush? Is that what you see me as? He chews on his bottom lip for a second, his fingers digging into my shoulders a little harder while he fathoms his response. Depends. I feel like he's toying with me, but a smile says more than I think he intends it to. What decision are you talking about? His expression quickly sours. What we saw out there. We need to decide if we tell AJ or not. Is that even a question? I thought it was our job to tell them shit like this. Exactly. He releases me and collapses onto my bed with a huff, bouncing a few times on the creaky mattress before he sits still. Thing is, I think we should find out more first, if we can. And Adri has enough on her plate right now. This will just freak them out, and, well, Adri tends to overreact when threatened, as any good nomad or assassin or whatever you want to call him should. Like any good snake should. I forgot about that line. I sit next to him and will myself to relax, but the tension just won't seem to leave me be. Raiden nudges me with his shoulder. So, are we doing this, or are we telling them straight? First of all, I'm not straight. I think back to what Adrian said to me, to the way their dark eyes burned into my own in warning. Tell Adrian, which find out more information, let Raiden decide. The thing is, how much do they have to care? Honestly, how much can they tell Adri at this point? Is there any point to telling them this little? So I always say to wait for more information. I dread to think what kind of shit we'd get in if we refrained from telling them right away, but something has settled deep in my gut, something that tells me we should wait. I think we need to get as much information as we can first. Wasting our time with ghost stories seems like a bad idea. Raiden shrugs nonchalantly and stands up, stretching out his limbs dramatically. So we're an investigating duo now, huh? Something like that. You can't breathe a word to anyone else, okay? This stays between you and I. I nod, but I somehow don't believe he's going to keep up his end of that particular bargain. Understood, partner. He huffs relaxed and shakes his head, running his fingers through his hair. Good. Guess I better head out then. Let you get your beauty rest and all that. He makes his way towards the door and ties it open, stepping into the Novian night. Night, partner. I stand up to see him on. Night. He waves at me over his shoulder, not bothering to look back, but I watch him until I can't see him anymore, until the darkness gobbles him up. That's not foreboding at all. I close the door. My bed has never felt less comfortable. The walls of my tiny home closing in on me as I shut my eyes and will sleep to find me. I'm once again awoken by a quiet tapping, and before I've even opened my eyes, I anticipate the sight of a friendly, safe, fairy face pressed against my window. At this rate, I should probably just give them a key. With great reluctance and a foggy brain, I turn myself from my bed and yank open the door. Rue enters with that boundless energy I'm coming to know and love. So they take one look at me and begin to frown. Oh dear, you're looking terribly something. Funny, that's exactly how I feel. Rue shrugs and follows me back to my bed, where we both take a seat. They begin picking at the hem of their shirt again, just as they did the other day in this very same spot. That sounds so present and looking out of place on their face. Are you okay? Rue hums and laces their fingers in their lap, fixing me with a curious stare, head tilted. See, that's a bit of a funny question, because I'm not sure. Things are weird, everything feels... Weird? Things are weird, everything feels off kilter, you know? There's something out there messing with the fabric of things, poking around where it doesn't belong. I straighten up, the hairs on the back of my neck standing to attention. I have a horrible feeling they're talking about the same thing we saw last night. If anyone would know what they were, it'd surely be Rue. They shift a little, angling their bodies so they're almost facing me, tucking one leg underneath themselves, waiting expectantly for me to respond. So, we can be cutting and say nothing, which obviously is the right thing to do, or we can have to face all them too. Normally, I only go with the first option if I'm romancing Rue. Otherwise, I pick the second option. But I'm going to go ahead with the first option anyway, just because we come straight out with it, because I know if they don't or can't lie. The gods know I need all the information I can get. You saw them in the forest last night, didn't you? Rue doesn't hesitate to nod. I did. A not at all delightful sense of foreboding settled over me like a chill. Who were they? They shake their head profusely. I know that the forest didn't want them there. They shook it to its core. I felt it deep in my bones. I had a feeling they'd been here before, but whatever it was, wasn't good. wasn't welcome, and the forest was never wrong. I'm still unsettled this morning. I'm trusting. You and Ray, you have to be careful chasing them. As fierce and capable as you both are, this isn't something for mortals to toy with. Mortals? So they aren't human? I figured as much, or thought maybe mages, but they stopped my word vomit with a hand that rests on my own and a firm squeeze. Hey, just be careful, yeah? Promise me. Before my questions, they were looking at me. I think Room might be scared. I'll try. I promise. Guess that's better than nothing. Anyway, you got any plans that don't involve stumbling into weirdos in the forest that might want to kill everyone? I stare at them blankly. Define weirdos. Drew pokes out their tongue and twinkles their nose, swatting at me playfully. The company you've come to keep, not included. We smiled at each other for a moment, the tension that lingered dissipating beautifully. Hey, do you want to go on a little adventure with me? I know this place. What kind of place? They sigh and stare out the window wistfully, their cheeks dimpling with how wide their grin is. It's a flower field not too far outside of town. Probably my favorite place. It's just so peaceful out there, and the few places left truly untouched. I'd like to spend some time with you, just the two of us, and the land. A reprieve. Duh. My heart jumps in my chest at the sight of them smiling at me like that, wanting to spend time with me, just the two of us in their favorite place. I'd love nothing more than to spend some time with you. Drew's eyes practically sparkle in response, his cheeks pinking up. It's gorgeous. They are gorgeous. I'm glad to hear it. You're quickly becoming my favorite company to keep. Well, likewise. Their eyes light up further, their expression one of undisguised shock. My heart jumps again, a somersault this time. Shall we go then? Well, the sun is still high in the sky. The flowers look their best in the brightest light. We both stand at the same time, and the urge to reach for their hand near overwhelms me. I squeeze my fingers into a fist to stop myself, but Ruth slides their arm through mine and offers me a cheeky wink. Adventure time! Lead the way. Okay, I'm gonna actually go get some water. I forgot to make sure it was full, so I will be back shortly. Okay, and I'm back. I meant to make sure my water was refilled before I started, but I forgot. The return to the field in question was quick, pleasant, and filled with charming anecdotes from Rue, who proved possibly the best and most informative guide Novus could ever dream of. The kingdom should hire them for tours or something. When I get into the clearing, I see the full breadth of the view before me. I stop dead in my tracks, my breath catching. It's vast and green and beautiful. Between the rolling hills, the fluffy clouds, and the spray of colorful flowers, I don't really know where to look. But I do know that this is a very different Novus than the one I've become acquainted with. Rue was right in saying it's peaceful, the underlying noise from the bustle of the kingdom non-existent in there. I'll just take a moment to appreciate the music. Just so very fitting. Rue is practically vibrating beside me, their smile wide and infectious as they await my verdict. What do you think? Gorgeous. I take a deep breath in and slowly let it out, their lashes fluttering close as they bask in the midday sun that beats down upon us. Now, as you'll remember, and if you do remember, this is the same field that Rue took the ambassador to. So when Rue and the ambassador visited, it was evening. Evening of this same day, actually. So now it's afternoon. The air is so much fresher out here, cleaner. It helps me think when my brain is all clogged. I needed this today after they cast me a quick, almost sheepish glance, like we'd made a silent and mutual agreement not to talk about what we saw last night. Me too. They smile again and curl their fingers around my wrist, tugging at me to follow as they head for a thick patch of wildflowers. We fall graciously to the ground, the grass bouncy and soft underneath us. Can I tell you a story? Of course you can. You pick a yellow flower from its stem and twirl it between your long fingers, watching the petals blur. It's obvious that our land here is beautiful, but it can also be terrible to those who bring hand to it. I should know, being part of it. So much of it has been tamed, it sometimes feels a little like it's been beaten into submission. A long time ago, when the sibling gods Ingara and Ingrath still walked these plains, they were quick to strike back when they thought they were being wronged by the humans. Ingara in particular. He said that he hunted to take his tributes, that it was in exchange for the price of what humans had taken from his land. He took lives to bring balance, but sometimes he took too many. They nod. I mean, you can understand why he was angry. The land isn't as alive with so many people using and abusing it. It feels muted, like the very soul of it is being sucked away. Humans are notoriously disruptive creatures. Yup. Rue has to laugh and nods in agreement before they reach out and rest their hand upon mine. Not all humans, Snatching. Humans can be good and kind, but Ungara was too blinded by anger and loss. Okay. Someone had thought the line about humans being notoriously disruptive was real. They say he had a fey lover, and if it wasn't for them, his mindless hunting would likely have continued to this day. Or so we think. They smile, but it doesn't reach their eyes, the edges of it colored with sadness. They calmed his wild heart, but even then there was so much quiet. Nothingness. I don't know what happened to either of them, but that's when the magic began to leave the land. Some like to suspect that Ungrath still wanders this mortal plane, that maybe the haunted tones, rife with ghouls and other nasties, are penance for the great crimes once committed by the humans. If only such a thing were true, it'd make their existence feel less terrifying. Rue shudders and once again twirls the flower they hold between their forefinger and thumb. They look pensive, their eyebrows pinched, but then they smile. And if the gods truly do walk the earth, I wonder what they're like. Maybe one day you'll find out. Maybe, but I feel a presence out here, somehow. Like everything else has changed, but this one spot feels so untouched, like something to cherish. They lean over and slide the flower behind my ear, adjusting it until they're satisfied it fits right. You know, my sister Eleanor and I used to spend many days out here. The world was much younger then, our neighbors more numerous, older. So, now the Nomad had found out about Rue's sister. I don't know if they're going to meet Eleanor, though. They'd come here just to see us dance. Rue closes their eyes as the breeze whispers through the hills. It rustles the flowers that surround us, our hair whipping about rosy, wing-kissed cheeks. It's welcome in the unrelenting midday sun. They reach out and run their hands over the tips of the grass, the blades barely grazing their fingertips in passing. We spent long days and nights on this hill, dancing among flowers like these. We didn't have a worry in our heads, just nothing but unending joy and revelry. Why would we ever dream of worrying about tomorrow when we still had today to live? I still remember the joy that shone in Eleanor's eyes, the carefreeness of it all. The sailors brought their lyres, the forest spirits brought their tiny harps and mandolins and fiddles. We would have so much fun. Rue's gaze turns to the sky, their copper hair burnished in the sunlight, their dark eyes shining. It's almost hard to tear my attention from them. They seem so happy, basking in such treasured memories, and that happiness is infectious. A butterfly passes by their face, wings grazing the tip of their nose. They wiggle it as if shaking off its kiss, and then their expression sobers. Witches of the valley, the mortals would call us, those brave enough and curious enough to come and watch. We welcomed them, of course, but they couldn't keep up with us. Some were glad to stay and lay down amongst the flowers. They closed their eyes to chase away the uneasiness that thoughts of tomorrow brought them. They lay like that as long as they could get away with before someone came to grab them awake. It seemed a kindness and a courtesy to let them. Eleanor warned me, you know. She put so much effort into getting me away from my tree in the middle of Novus, our birthplace. She knew that if I was involved with mortals, it would come to break my heart. No, she's not mine. I wouldn't trade a peace of mind for what I have now, and for who I've become. I smiled at them, lost in the story, but then something hit me. Sisters of the Valley, you say? Yes. We were quite a pair, made in dresses in gold and green, a spring and autumn, a revelry in seasons, a large horse wrote so many songs about us. Some even sought to win favors with their skill. Then Bruin inclines their heads. Their smile doesn't waver, but there's a gentle inquiry in their eyes. So, the same options as with the ambassador. Obviously, if I'm playing a non-binary character, then the third option is the answer to pick. But I remember with the ambassador, I didn't indicate that they are trans. So, to me, that means he's cis. But with the Nomad, I'm going to go with this third option. To understand, to look at my reflection and come to the realization that what I assumed that I am by default isn't the same as the person I am inside, and to come to embrace my authentic, true self. I understand completely. The warm hand closes around my wrist and has a kindness in the smile that they offer. Something bright glimmers in their eyes. Excitement, like someone who's found a new, beautiful corner of this world. I see you. There's so much that means, just a few little words. It has so much meaning for people who aren't cis. I have a quiet laugh and nudge their knee with my own. Yes, you definitely do. But here you are, bright and beautiful and brave, and you understand, and I'm very happy about that. Bruce squeezes my hand and sits back, and that little exposed nerve moment between us is over in a flash. Yeah, I realized after I picked that option on my very first playthrough as an ambassador what exactly that meant. So I was like, okay, I guess that means this ambassador is trans. Got it. Mortals sometimes cling so tightly to an assumption they make about a stranger at first, don't they? And even we're strangers to ourselves at first. Like a note of that, if I forget. Bree slowly turns and crosses their legs at the ankles, once again dusting a hand over the head to the grass and more flowers. A few colorful petals are set free, catching on a breeze and fluttering away. Sometimes you cling to the assumption like it's over some foundational truth in your life, when your heart knows it isn't right or isn't the whole truth about yourself. Maybe fear of letting go of something you mentioned first means letting go of all of your identity? Who knows, but in the long years I've lived, I found that these sorts of realizations are simply another step of self-discovery. Rue cups their hands in front of their face, their hands gently glowing sunshine yellow. Daffodils bloom in their palm, and with a simple wiggle of their long fingertips, crown of petals sitting atop their ginger curls. Now, this probably looks familiar. We had a similar CG with the ambassador, except it was evening we met with, and this one's afternoon. So, same CD, just different time of day. So it's just really cool that they're able to do that. The flowers still blooming, unfolding more and more petals. The river leads to the sea, cutting through a meadow. Centuries later, it'll be the same river, cutting through a valley where the meadow once was. It still leads unerringly to the sea. And here, in the end, it's still me. Older, wiser, growing a different way, but what's happened stay that way forever. Another breeze sweeps around us, the flowers that dance in space, hearts of their magic floating away, up into the sky, as to the flowers in their hair, like they were never there. It's clear to me that this meadow still loves her, cherishes them. It's why I always go back for morals, They understand transience and change. As much as they try, just that much harder to deny it sometimes. Like Eric, like my dear Raiden. They stare at me with a wicked look, teeth sharp and grin wide. Like you. Obviously, we're going to pick the third option because we can. I tentatively reach out my hand, and Rose apparently eager to meet me halfway, the fingers reaching for me and lacing with my own without hesitation. I feel a warmth spreading across my skin, the kind that comes unmatched, the kind that you should only find in fairy tales. Or with a fairy, I suppose. I hope you'll always come back for me. Rue's cheeks turn pink, brighter than I've ever seen them. I will. I want to. With those words, we edge closer, closer, moving and rest a curly head upon my shoulder. Then their arms are around me, and we're falling backward, petals scattering as we hit the grass with a huff of easy laughter. I turn my head so I can look at them where they lay beside me, their cheeks still delightfully pink, and Rue whispers something under their breath in a language I don't recognize. There's a gentle noise like the softest jingling of bells, and Rue grins and presents me with the flower that blooms from their palms. They carefully place it behind my ear, adjusting the petals before they pull their hand away and admire their work. You're lovely. You're lovelier. I take their hand before they can say anything, sighing contentedly as I turn my attention towards the sky. Our fingers remain laced between us, our ankles knocking, and with their free hand, Rue points out a huge fluffy cloud with a burst of laughter. Look, it's a bit like Raiden, all fluffy and cheeky. I snort and squeeze their hand, finding it hard to keep my eyes off them as they continue to show me different shapes that hardly resemble what they claim to see. Every moment in their presence is a breath of fresh air, something freeing and cherished. I soon find myself watching them instead of the clouds, taking stock of the freckles that cover their face and the pattern they make upon sun-kissed skin. Rue is so beautiful, so different in all of the greatest ways, and I feel more at home here, lying in the grass in this random field in the middle of nowhere than I think I have in years. Thank you for bringing me here. Rue looks at me and holds my gaze with earnest brown eyes. It's nice to have someone to make new memories out here with. I hope you'll come again. I'd love to. The smile they give me in response is one of the prettiest things I've ever seen. It stays with me as we walk home together, hand in hand, everything feeling a little lighter than it did before. I stand on the bridge in the middle of the city and wonder if I wait here long enough for Raiden might just magically appear. Maybe he lives under it, he doesn't. I checked. I watch the hustle and bustle of the busy kingdom, the castles glistening on the hill in the distance, a beacon of opulence and untouchable things. I spot a shiny row of knights making their way down the winding path that leads into the city, their polished armor brighter than the sun. Then I feel a pull, like someone hooked a piece of string around my middle and tugged, like something telling me I have things to discover and places I shouldn't go. Usually gut feelings like this one lead to bad things, so of course I take off running towards the palace. Of course! Wish I would be worth this skill if they didn't do shit like this. We're waiting for the wayward assassin. I'll break in there myself. I've got knives and a little to no respect for my own mortality. What else do you need? Perched atop a particularly high wall, I spot Livia sparring with a very capable partner near the gazebo, thoroughly distracted and entirely free of her obsidian armor. Who could that be? Who could Olivia possibly be starring at? Not the knight, not at all. There are no guards present in the vicinity of the chapel as far as I can see, which feels odd for a supposedly well-guarded safe haven. I'm happy to use such a weakness to my advantage. I quickly haul myself over the towering stone and into the grounds of the park. Then a very pleasing sense of accomplishment when my boots meet the lush green grass. And then all I could feel was pure dread, the kind that makes your stomach churn. The only thing that I assume is causing such a visceral reaction is the chapel that sits right a place before me. Its vines choking the ancient stone to a point of cracking. These taller and far more imposing in the harsh light of day than I remember. Maybe it's because the whole place seemed to loom over me in the dark. Maybe it's because I had a very powerful and ancient demon by my side who would surely have protected me from any ghouls, but here I stand, alone, gazing up at a place that's practically begging me to break and enter. Whisper of a promise that what I seek lies inside those crumbling walls. Like it's clicking a finger at me and tempting me to peek. I can hear something. Cool. A heartbeat. Is it mine, or is it the chapel itself? I take a step forward without thinking because, having done a pretty good job of getting in here, I think I'm probably in the clear. But then I hear a noise, one I'm intimately familiar with by practicing my occupation. There's something different about the way this weapon sounds, so deftly cutting through the air. Well, shit. Well, what have we here? I turn slowly, and I find Olivia glaring at me over the hilt of a wooden sword, the butt tip pointed at my sternum. A snake in the garden. I raise my hands in surrender. It's not like I have a choice. I'm pretty sure she could kill me with her pinky to really put her back into it. Speak. You have 1 minute to convince me that I shouldn't tie you to that tree and leave you for the raven. I almost choke on my own spit. My eyes fall to the training sword clenched tightly in her grip, her knuckles bleeding white as she awaits my response. It might not be steel, but there's no doubt it could do just as much damage in the Knight Commander's hands. Personally, I think she's quite fond of me. I'm certain she wouldn't treat Raiden like this if she got him red-handed. That's the thing, though. Raiden won't get caught. It's still a miracle she's given me a chance at all, however, so maybe I can use it to my advantage. Maybe we could play a little game. Which on my computer was just singing. There we go. Let me spar with you. If I win, you let me go and pretend you never saw me. Olivia rolls her eyes, but she's grinning. It's a little terrified. Just a little. And what if I win? Then I offer you my wrist and you tie me to that tree as you do so desire. You have to do it nice and tight, though. I'm slippery. The flesh that already blooms across her tree from her previous sparring session darkens beautifully, and I feel the tip of the sword back away from my chest. Her nostrils flare as she considers my proposal, pinched between her brow, telling me I might need to just resign myself to the fact that she has no interest in showing me mercy. I should probably just make a run for it. Fine. She steps back, watching me like a hawk. Really? She then throws the training sword at me and I catch it with ease, thank the gods. That would have been horribly embarrassing, but at least I can always rely on my sharp reflexes if nothing else. You caught me in a good mood. She's just sparring with the knight. What do you expect? Olivia cocks her head curiously, observing me before she retrieves another weapon from a nearby rack. I'm impressed. Your reflexes aren't as abysmal as I presumed they would be. I'm an assassin? I'm glad such a simple feat impresses you. That bodes well for me. Olivia laughed heartily, spinning the wooden sword in a motion that seems to defy gravity with a mere twist of her wrist. Yes, well, let us see if you can impress me further and avoid arrest, shall we? How about one tiny advantage for a poor, weak shadow? She scoffs and quirks a blonde brow at me, and yep, there's that terrible familiar feeling that she's about to eat me alive again. One question. I watch as she passes the sword between both of her hands impatiently. Hey, tell, fair knight commander, which hand is your dominant hand? She wets her lips with a flick of her tongue and is visibly poorly stifling a devastating smirk. I'm really in it now. Neither hand is dominant. I am. Oh dear. Grass take me and feed me to the worms. I try my hardest to choke it back, but a nervous laugh rolls right off my tongue. I'm pretty sure it only serves to make her want to beat me more. Now, are you ready to be taught a lesson? I swallow and nod. In position matching, I take my place opposite her and steel myself, the training sword tight in my grip. I watch the flex of Livy's muscles as she readies herself to strike. Then our dance begins. So, yes, we get the same CD on all three reps. So, Olivia starts with the knight first, and then Mannix interrupts you and sends her to the chapel to take over disturbance, which happens to be the Nomad. And then after this, Olivia ends up back on the training grounds attacking a dummy, and we'll find out why shortly. She's fast, her every move calculated to a deadly degree. Every single one of her blows lands hard enough to almost knock me off balance, my feet barely finding purchase on the grass. As she pushes forward, our blades clash. I have one advantage over her, however. Olivia has clearly been taught to fight by someone big and slow and powerful, someone who doesn't need to learn evasion and how to fight dirty. Eric taught her well, but I'm a slippery creature, a creature who thrives on self-preservation and cunning and pretending that I'm helpless when I'm not. I think she knows that, and I'm sure she'll foil whatever plan I throw at her, but it never hurts to try. So, do we kick out her feet or try to disarm her? Honestly, it's pretty obvious that, like the Nomad predicted, neither is going to actually work. But, like I said, it doesn't hurt to try. So, since it doesn't really matter which option I pick, I'm gonna let the dice pick. So I have a d6. So, odd number hits, kick out her feet, even number hits, try to disarm. So, that didn't work. And that's on 4. Okay, that's a 6. So we're going to try to disarm. As much as I'm loving the way my bones rattle with every forceful blow she lands, I need a better plan than parrying until my skeleton shatters. I watch her carefully as we take a break from swordplay and circle each other, her very much the hunter, me very much her strangely willing prey. Tired yet? She's enjoying this a little too much for my liking. My stamina isn't as bad as you might believe, my lady. She licks her teeth, helping her laugh, and then she's getting ready to lunge again. I can see it in the way she tightens her grip on the hilt of the sword, and the way her heel digs a little harder into the dirt. I brace myself for impact and pray my plan works. When our blades meet, I pivot and slide my arm under hers, and with a forceful push, shit. Next thing I know, I'm on my back, looking up at the bright blue Nobian sky with the edge of Livia Vasile's training sword nestled nice and snug across my jugular, her strong thighs bracketing my waist. Now that's a lovely position. Do you yield? She's grinning, panting, sweat beading at her forehead. Her hair sticks to her flushed face, and there's a fire in her blue eyes that I've never seen before. Not on her. It's pure, unadulterated joy. It suits her better than any armor. We're gonna flirt. Hello. Everything hurts, and I may very well be tied to a tree in the next 5 minutes, but I can't stop the words that next fall off my pen. You're beautiful. Olivia pauses for a moment, a look of shock crossing her pretty face before she's back to smirking. I want to make her smile like that again and again. I think I'd probably do anything to make that happen, including letting her tie me to a tree. You can't shame your way out of this. A deal is a deal if you're an honorable spy. Firstly, no spy is honorable. Secondly, I charmed you? Olivia quickly realizes her mistake. She opens and closes her mouth, a little frustrated growl hitting the back of her clenched teeth. I like that. Stand back during the night where both struck speechless by Olivia. Well, the Nomad is just blurts it out. Says it straight out. You're beautiful. And she is. She removes the sword and tosses it aside, but as I see a chance for freedom and move to pull myself onto my elbows, Olivia plants a firm hand against my chest and pushes. I watch her as she leans in close enough that I can smell the sweat on her skin and trace what I assume is her shampoo. It's floral and sweet. Charmed I might be, but this still doesn't mean I'm letting you on. I'm certainly not complaining if you'd like to stay right where you are. She purses her lips and narrows her eyes, her ponytail falling over her shoulder as she dips her chin. I'm trying to keep my composure, but being this close to her is a thorough distraction. Put your hands above your head. In God preserve me, at least I'll make a pretty corpse. And do as I'm told, slowly lifting my arms from my sides. Up, up. Olivia doesn't take her eyes off me, her sly smile unwavering. But my hands are right where she wants them, she speaks again. Good. Now I'm going to stand up, and you're not going to move an inch. Understand? I nod obediently, my skin feeling too tight and far, far too hot. Well done. It's good that you know your place, Shadow. She practically purrs the words. Her nose is brushing, her breath sweet and warm. It wouldn't take much for me to tip my chin and press my mouth to hers, but I quite like being right. So the way she's looking at me, I don't think Livia would mind it. She huffs a little laugh and draws back, slowly rising to her feet. The firm press of her weight upon me is missed. Though I'm quite enjoying this little interaction, I know I have to get out of here. I really don't fancy spending a night in the dungeon, even if Livia is the one to put me there. So do what I do best and pull her away. All I need is a split second, one moment when her guard is down as she bends to pick up what I assume is something to tie me with, and I'm gone. I run as fast as I can, hauling myself up onto the top of the crumbling pillars that border the garden. The last thing I hear as I take hold of a thick set of vines that trails the side of the palace is Livia calling for the guards. So now we know why Livia was pissed when the ambassador found her. And this is why I'm doing all 3 routes simultaneously, because you get these little references to the other routes that you would miss if you only played one. So I understand why most people would just do one. But I mean, I have to do all 3. Are you going to hang there all day? I look up from my hiding place and see a demon smiling down at me. A demon bathed in the dying vestiges of sunlight, their shimmering robe and starlight skin glistening in the dreamy lavender glow. Come, join me for some wine. You can't possibly be comfortable like that. They're right, I'm not. Everything hurts. I finally managed to obey the guards Lydia set upon me. For oath-stunning heavy armor, they sure can run. They're trained to run in that armor, ding-dong. I haul myself up and perch atop the stone railing, eagerly, somewhat cautiously, accepting Lucian's invitation. Of all the balconies in Novus, of course am I to pick there. I imagine they might be the least threatening option. Convenient writing. Maybe. I squinted them, almost expecting them to shove me off, but instead they reach out their gold-tipped fingers and help me down. The solid ground feels good beneath my feet. It takes me a moment to adjust to my surroundings. The sheer opulence of the balcony is stark change to what I'm accustomed to. Everything is gilded and marble. The sunlit cross so thoroughly I can almost see my reflection. Almost. I see that the doors to what I assume are Lucian's quarters are open, but running away from the big, scary night, Lucian carefully guides me back towards the edge of the balcony from where I unconsciously wandered, clearly not looking to invite me inside. Not that I blame them, I'm covered in dirt and sand. So lovely. Gossip wastes no time traveling inside these walls, does it? No, it doesn't. That's what happens when you have a palace full of people just dying for even the tiniest scraps of entertainment. Noble life can be terribly boring, you know. I incline my head and give them a pointed look, taking in the sight of them in that robe, all the jewelry dripping from their horns, their necks, their fingertips. Yeah, I'm sure it's terrible. They take a slow, steady sip of their wine and set their glass aside, poorly hiding their smirk. They then reach out and pluck a leaf from their hair, scrutinizing it with a crinkled nose before tossing it. You made quite a commotion out there, didn't you? Raiden is teaching you well. So, obviously, we're going to pick the flirt option, the poly-flirt option, mind you. I stare at them pointedly. I'm not entirely oblivious to the fact that Lucian seems amused by mine and Raiden's partnership. Or should I say, intrigued. Maybe in a way. I haven't quite wrapped my head around yet, but I am interested in nonetheless. You seem to enjoy us together. The laugh Lucian responds with is nothing short of devious. Oh, you have no idea, Nasreen. I'd so love to enlighten you sometime, though, if you've a mind, of course. I feel my skin prickle with heat, their words dripping with wicked intention. They take a step closer, a subtle enough movement they'd blink and miss it, but I don't tend to miss many things. You're both so lovely, even more so when you're together. They run a clawed fingertip along the stone of the balcony, and I find myself watching the gesture intently, their hand edging closer to mine before they snatch it away. My fingers twitch. Now tell me, what exactly were you doing slithering into the palace without your partner? My throat in an attempt to form a coherent sentence, my mind swimming. I was seeking something out in the chapel, or I intended to, anyway. And what lies in the chapel that piques your interest enough for you to risk life and limb? I don't know. I just had a feeling. There goes that eyebrow again. A feeling. Right. I get that it isn't exactly a very compelling reason, as you said, risk life and limb, but life has been generally fucking weird for me lately, so I thought. They sigh and shake their heads slowly. I gather that they're disappointed in me. Have you no respect for your mortality? You could have at least waited until nightfall. Raiden knows the ins and outs of this place better than anyone, maybe even me. You could ask him to give you a tour. I looked for him, but couldn't find him, so I simply took the initiative. Well, it worked out beautifully, clearly. Yeah, good point. I laugh, a little embarrassed, but at least I could say I tried. Plus, you of all people should know that Raiden doesn't like to be found. He simply likes to, I gesture vaguely, appear. I hear a quiet rustling and look to the side, and lo and behold, there he is, emerging from within the palace to create a tangle of gauzy curtains that ripple on a breeze. He looks as casual as ever, his stride confident and his grin unwavering, maybe even widening when he spots me. They look at Lucian and the shrug, picking up their wine and downing the rich red liquid in one. Like I said, they knew he was here the whole time, I assume, or at least they suspected he was. Some might start to think you live in the palace the amount of time you spend here. He shrugs heavily, flicking his white hair from his eyes with a quick tilt of his head. My place is much nicer than this. Lucian's burst of disbelieving laughter implies otherwise. What are you doing here anyway? Never thought you'd make it in here without me holding your hand. He's smiling like he doesn't mean it, but I still want to wipe the smugness from his face with my fist a little bit. Maybe you've underestimated me. Scratches his chin, feigning thoughtfulness. Nah, that isn't it. Come on, I'm just messing with you. I'm proud you tried. I know you're not incapable of looking after yourself. Andrew wouldn't have accosted you otherwise. I'm impressed by your skill, what I've seen of it. Maybe we can cross blades one day so you can see the rest. I'm down. Lucian clears her throat. What are you doing here, little snake? Shouldn't you both be running around looking for our new visitors? I stare at Raiden with wide eyes, silently accusing him of spilling secrets he told me were for keeps. He raises his hands defensively. Whoa, don't look at me like that. I know what you're thinking, and that isn't the case. Lucy here is all-knowing. I don't need to open my mouth for them to know certain stuff. Lucy knows because the knight told them. I have been known to magically become aware of such things, yes. Just a few of the perks of being me. And no, Raiden hasn't told me a thing. I was the one who warned him about the potential meeting, the one you stumbled across that night. It all seems to fall into place now. Them at the joust, whispering in the corner, Raiden's reluctance to speak to me or even look at me. Did they both really think I was set to betray the guild? He wanted to see if I was working with them. It was a test. I don't need to pose it as a question. Raiden frowns and looks at his feet, but Lucian responds without hesitation. Nothing is ever certain. Raiden finally looks at me, and he looks guilty. I have not had much luck when I trust people, historically. He offers me a smile, but I finish with sadness, which is putting it on for show and trying to hide a very real pain that lingers close to the surface. We're gonna comfort him, of course. Without thinking, I reach for his hand, trailing my fingers over his calf's palm. His cheeks turn pink, and I can't help but be amused by how easy it is to reduce this brash, stubborn man into a blushing mess. It's better than any superpower. I understand why you did what you did. It was smart of you. Any good assassin would know to wash it back from every angle. He throws his throat, and as I move to pull my hand away, he quickly catches it. He closes his fingers around mine and squeezes hard before reluctantly letting go. Such a sweetheart. Nice of you to say, but I'm still sorry it took me so long to see. You're a good person. I have a laugh and Lucian grins. A lot of people don't think either of us are good people. Then we'll just be horrible pieces of shit together, won't we? Why are you here exactly? Were you looking for me? Raiden shrugs, takes his head and points at Lucian. Them, but it's always nice to get a 2-for-1. Yes, I suppose it is. Both of your favorite people in one place. Lucian is toying with him. It's fun to watch. Don't push your luck. Anyway, I spoke with Drew. They seemed pretty spooked. They said they also saw what we did last night. I spoke with them too. The forest was scared, on the defensive. Lucian humps thoughtfully, rhythmically tapping their claws against the stone. If the land is upset by their presence, then it's safe to say they're certainly not human. Everything has felt a little off since we had the assassination attempt. Suffocating, even. I don't feel anything. I tap him on the end of his nose. You wouldn't. You're human. There was something when we were close to them, like this oppressive aura. It made my teeth hurt. I imagine they're using very powerful magic to cover themselves or to act out whatever they're plotting. Which is... They both stare at me blankly. We don't know. Correct. Something bad, though, obviously. Finger guns. I love that that's what Raiden's emote is. Finger gun! You don't sneak around the woods in cool robes, chanting and holding torches at midnight if you're just having a picnic. Very true, it's hard to see at midnight. I have no doubt that if you put your pretty heads together, you'll come up with something. Alas, I must take my leave. I have beauty sleep I need to catch up on. Lucian inclines her head. Unless you'd like to join me? Raiden and I look at each other, then back at Lucian. What you're implying doesn't sound like sleeping, Lucy. They laugh, running their fingers over the shimmering fabric of their robe before turning and gliding towards the open door. You're right. Maybe some other time? So, of course, we're going to pick the poly flirt because we can. I look at Raiden again, my cheeks hot, and all he does is wink at me. Helpful. Well, look forward to it? Lucian chuckles again, disappearing into the room and closing the door before saying another word. We, huh? He steps closer as I move towards the edge of the balcony, and I can feel his eyes burning into the back of my skull. Shut up! I begin to climb over and sit on the edge, my legs dangling as I assess my options. You like Lucy. The sing-song words make me blush a little harder. I like both of you, but I reiterate, shut the fuck up. I look at him and his cheeks are just as pink as I assume mine are. It's weird to see him at a loss for words. I'm too flustered by this situation to find the joy in it. He clears his throat and joins me on the edge, bumping my shoulder entirely on purpose before looking down at the drop with a low whistle. Are you ready? You jumped from Lucy's balcony before, I assume? clears his throat, his cheeks turning pink. Loneliness is a curse, but there's always a cure. Even if it's meaningless, feeling something is better than feeling nothing. I reach out and rest my hand on top of his where he grips the edge of the balcony. His words hurt, but I understand. What I wouldn't give to feel something, with him. If you could have something meaningful. He swallows loud enough for me to hear, staring down at our point of contact like our hands are about to burst into flames. He laughs, but it sounds forced. Sad, even. I'll believe it when it happens. Can't say I've had much luck. And with that, he jumps. I watch him go, and with a deep breath, I swiftly follow, landing in the grass beside. He's right. I didn't break anything. Yeah, that's kind of sad. It says a lot about the life that they have to lead. After yet another eventful day, I finally managed to get a decent night's sleep, including no signs of any nosy faces at my window upon waking. I've ventured into town in the hopes of bumping into absolutely anyone of interest that I can try and get information out of, no leads other than my gut instinct guiding me along. Raiden had run ahead of me last night when we vacated the palace grounds. It was a strangely smooth exit, considering the guards in Libya were out for my blood. I'm starting to think they really just don't care all that much. Or maybe they've long deemed Raiden and me as harmless. I should be thankful, I suppose. I stand in the city square, staring up at the castle, contemplating my next move. I know exactly where I'll find people with loose lips. The Pauper's Crown is annoyingly quiet when I push open the door, especially for noon on a Friday in Novus. Nemesis stands in her usual spot behind the bar, wiping it down with a dirty cloth and glaring at me into submission. Though there's something different about her today. She seems stiffer, enough for me to notice it and feel uneasy. Then I catch her eyes looking to the side, almost as if she's trying to tell me something without really telling me. That's when I spot a familiar face, one that startles me because what the shit is Lady Masha Olainka doing in a dive like this? She was invited there. There was a preview for a CG with Masha, and at first the post for it said Mama. Definitely autocorrect got to it, and they didn't notice it first. But nobody blinked an eye at the fact that the name was Mama, because it's Masha. She's the Mama Bear. She hasn't spotted me yet, but it's kind of impossible to miss her. The fine robes, still far less dazzling than her usual attire, set her apart from the locals, as does her uneasy demeanor. She's clearly nervous about being here, so I wonder if a relatively familiar face might ease her somewhat. Masha? I slide into the seat opposite her and watch her whole body stiffen and relax as she realizes that it's me. Oh, matching! How nice to see you! You too, but wholly unexpected. What are you doing here? She clears her throat and pokes at her full tanker, staring at the bubbles thoughtfully. I just need to escape for a little bit. Those palace walls can be dreadfully suffocating sometimes. Everything has been so strange since the assassination attempt. I miss the way it used to be. She sighs heavily and takes a swig of her drink, looking away shyly as she places it back upon the table. I'm not sure if she's comfortable to be opening up to me like this, but I appreciate her candor. I think I might have caused some trouble yesterday. Masha cocks her brow at me knowingly. You think? It was a talk of the palace at dinner time, I'll have you know. A new sprightly assassin evading the Knight Commander and her best guards made the poor things look quite foolish. I shrug and lean forward, trying and probably failing to hide my acute smugness. Libya's going to chop my head off next time she sees me, isn't she? That depends on the circumstances in which she sees you. Libya isn't half as scary as she makes out. She just thinks she has a lot to prove. Doesn't she? She sighs and fiddles with the end of her braid, the golden jewelry neatly tucked between the knots, catching in the candlelight. I think all of this has been hardest on her. She's changed since Eric left. She's hardened. I understand it, of course. The role is not an easy one, not for someone as young and as... She trails off, almost like she's realized who she's about to spill her heart to, and then she laughs quietly, sitting a little straighter. Forgive me, you don't want to hear all of my woes. There must be something about this place that loosens my lips. Loose lips sink ships. As a cheaper option. Without really thinking about what I'm doing, I reach out to take her hand, and she lets me. The Her fingers are so warm where they twine tightly with my own. So soft, her hands that hold such unfathomable power. There's something to forgive. I'm happy to hear you talk, no matter what subject. My ears are always open for your words, my lady. That's different than what I would be saying. But of course, depending on the voice, I might just tell them, you can read from the fucking phone book for all I care. Just keep talking in that beautiful voice of yours. Masha smiles softly, openly. She visibly relaxes when she meets my gaze, and all I can think about is how beautiful she looks in this warm, flickering candlelight. I have not had the privilege of seeing her in such a way before, when she seems so utterly herself. Or so I assume. You're so very kind to me, considering I hold such a position of power. Those who don't reside in the palace tend to shy away from me these days. Now her smile verges on wicked, her eyes sparkling like she's daring me to argue. I could never shy away from someone as lovely as you. Her pretty eyes narrow at me, and I anticipate her response, wondering if it will be laced with intrigue, or if she'll simply politely tell me I'm cute for thinking anything could ever happen between us. Because that is what I want, isn't it? Maybe. It's been a while since someone called me lovely in such a way, like you meant it. I do mean it, in spades. Her laugh is musical, the kind of laugh bars write great ballads about. I'm writing one in my head right now, I think. You're too kind and quite lovely yourself. Emboldened by her words and her smile, I lift her hand to my lips and press them against her knuckles. I win her gaze from beneath its lashes as I do so. I let it linger, and a gentle dusting of pink blooms across her cheeks. She doesn't pull away, doesn't so much as blink. Then we can be lovely together. She laughs again, and I kiss her hand one more time before reluctantly releasing her. Masha's fingers linger in my own, and I fight the urge to hold her again. To maybe even climb over the staple that dares to separate us, to press my lips to hers instead. Alas, I resist. This is hardly the place for such display, even though something tells me that Masha may very well be considering the same thing. At least she's looking at me. I have to say, I've never really met anyone quite like you. Most are often too intimidated by my power and position to bother making their affections known. I feel a little more like my old self when I'm around you, the one who used to sneak out after curfew. You sneaking out and breaking the rules? Please, not every noble woman is what you might presume. We like to have fun, too. Maybe one night I could climb up to your balcony and steal you away for an adventure. Her eyes light up at the offer. I cannot condone you breaking and entering, but I also won't stop you. So that's yes, Master. Please come sweep me off my feet and give me the best night of my life? She tucks at me, but she nods. You're a welcome change. Then I'll endeavor to make my affections known more often. Good. She fills with the edge of her beautiful cape, her mind so clearly elsewhere, far away from the comfort of these four walls. Then there's a shift. And of course, we remember this from the ambassador route. So she looks mischievous, like she's seeking trouble. She then leans in and lowers her voice, like she's about to spill a deadly secret. Tell me, was it worth it, breaking in, getting caught, getting chased? Did you find what you were looking for? The playful glimmer in her eyes tells me that there's so much more to Masha than one might expect. Pretty worth it, yeah. Her quick burst of laughter is contagious, but her face falls quickly, back into something imperceptible, like a mask, the face she's shown me every other time we've met. I want to remind her that she's safe to be herself here, but all the pomp and fuss of being Archmage doesn't matter about it. Tell me what it's like to feel so free. We're gonna pick the third option. I could show you sometime if you fancy it. Masha's eyebrows swiftly climb towards her hairline, her bottom lip tugged between her teeth. Show me what, exactly? Honestly, anything you want. Just name it. She taps quietly, shaking her head in disapproval, but the wolfish grin that crosses her lips says something else entirely. You're going to get me in trouble, you know? I hope so. I hear the bell of the door ringing to signal a new person entering, and usually I think nothing of it. Just another body to fit inside the tiny tavern, where the way Masha straightens and pales, like she'd seen a corpse as some person turned to look. Fuck. Anyone want to guess who it is? If you remember the ambassador route, you probably have a good idea. Eric Nystrom striding inside and heading straight for the bar. He knocks at Nemesis, who also looks like she's about to pass out from the sheer horror of what we understand we're about to witness. He hasn't noticed us yet, but it's inevitable. We look back at Marsha, and she hasn't taken her eyes off him. He's hard to miss at the best of times, but I suspect when the last time he saw someone was their humiliating and heartbreaking exile from their home, it'll be pretty hard to look away. Yeah. Shit. Look at her wide-eyed, shocked air of profanity falling from her lovely mouth. But I guess I can't really blame her. Oh, I'm sure she knows her share of curse words, and probably stronger ones, too. Definitely a moment that warrants it. Then I hear my name being called in that familiar gruff tone, and I watch him approaching with a smile. He looks fresh and healthy, his hair bundled in a messy bun, and a messy top knot, burnished strands falling messily in his face. I process it for a moment, pressing restart on my brain, and then I'm focusing on what somehow makes him look softer. Like he might only chew you up and spit you out if you ask nicely. I was looking for you. Lady Olenka, you're here, in the tavern, right now. I feel like the wind changed and my face might have gotten stuck in some kind of weird pain grimace as I watched this unfold. Sir, just say something. Anything. Probably now. Nice to see you. Probably the most inane thing you could say at that moment. That was shit. Yeah. Eric turns a delightful shade of red and looks anywhere but at Maja and I, his hands balled into fists at his sides, his shoulders tight and stiff. I was looking for you. Wondered if you wanted to join me on a hunt. That snaps me out of this awkward house. Hunt? What kind of hunt? The sister is still not looking at either of us. Apparently the law is incredibly compelling. Yup. Yeah, a bounty. Gotta make money somehow. I hear a step of her chair and turn to find Marsha standing quickly, tugging her hood up and looking like she might disappear at a cloud of smoke. If you have things to do, I'll take my leave. I should get back. I stand to, getting between them in the hopes that it might cut some of the horrible, suffocating tension from the air. It doesn't. To the palace. Eric looks then, stares her down like she said the most offensive thing about both his mother and his father. Oh boy. Oh boy. But then he says something I didn't quite expect. Do you not have an escort? Marsha frowns deeply, a harsh pinch between her brows. You know I do not need an escort. Lots of dangerous people about Lady Olenka. Traitors and spies. You're in the company of two right now. Ooh, ouch. Marsha tips her chin in defiance, grasping the front of her cloak as she sidesteps from behind the table to stand before Eric. Their hearts are quite different to start, but when Marsha Olenka stands before you with such a look on her face, Eric might as well be 2 feet tall. It was nice to see you, Sir Eric. You look well, just as I hoped you would. Now, I'll be taking my leave. Nasreen, thank you for a lovely conversation, and apologies for my swift exit. Eric opens his mouth and closes it again as Marsha brushes past him. Then he spins and catches her carefully by the wrist, snatching his hand back as if he'd been shocked as Marsha whirls to face him. Maybe she did shock him. Glad to see you well, too, for what it's worth. Marsha blinks up at him for a moment before offering him a small, unreadable smile. Good day, Sir Nasreen. Good day, Sir Nasreen. And then she's gone. Eric turns to face me quickly, letting out a sharp breath I gather he's been hiding. Told him, well, shit, that wasn't unexpected to start my day. Nope. We're gonna go tactful. That was rough. Are you okay? He sighs deeply, clenching and unclenching his fist. He looks restless, like he doesn't know if he should run after her or curl up in a ball on the ground. I think so. It's not how I expected to see her again after all this time. I thought I was safe from surprises in the bloody crown of all the places she could pop up, so I'm not sure what I expected. I was just as shocked to see her here, if that helps. They can thank the ambassador for that. It doesn't, but thanks for trying. funny. I thought I'd feel sad or angry, but I just feel nothing. Is that good? He smiles, and it feels genuine. Looks it, too. I think it might be, yeah. Maybe it's finally time for me to accept my lot and move on, away from all that palace nonsense, you know? I smile back, pleased to see him finally realizing that. I think that's an excellent idea. You're not just your traumas. You have people who know and love you for who you are now. He reaches out and rests his hand upon my shoulder, squeezing once. You're a good one. But what? He smiles, grins. Don't know, just feels like forgiveness might be quite nice when it comes to her. The rest of it will take time, but I need to stop blaming her. I pat him on the arm. Forgiveness is good. I've heard it clear support. Eric scoffs a laugh and nudges you with his elbow. He's right. I think he has forgiven Masha. He seems lighter for it. He shakes his head like a dog getting out of a bath and taps the hilt of his sword where it rests in its holster. Anyway, I don't want to dwell on that today. I've got work. Do you fancy a little journey into the woods then? That's it? You just see your ex after a year and a half full of trauma and heartache and you're crying? I would really like to kill something right now, preferably the demon that I've been told is terrorizing a patch of woodland just outside the city. My skin feels a little cold, memories of what Ridden and I saw in the woods overtaking me. Just a demon? No, maybe cultists? Cultists? You've been drinking? Truly a hypothetical question wouldn't hurt. You live in the woods. Have you ever seen anything suspicious late at night? Eric sighs and runs his hand over his face. Lots of suspicious stuff happens in the woods at night here, Nashing. Do you want a list or are you asking about something specific? We could be here a while. Okay. Fine. I get it. Ridden and I saw something last night. Funny, because I class you and him as a suspicious sighting if I bumped into you in the woods. Now, you gonna tell me or not? I've got a bounty to collect. I sigh and swallow my words to give up the secrets I promised to keep. Do I get a cut of your earnings? Eric turns and heads for the door, muttering a stern no under his breath. Guess we're going on an adventure then. When we arrive at the spot of the demon that Eric has been tasked with hunting, I'm struck by its beauty. Though at the same time, I feel like something isn't quite right, like the balance of the land is off-center. He said it's the ruins of an old castle, once sacred, but now bandits and monsters linger instead. He appears from under a crumbling archway with a scowl on his face, a firefly buzzing about his head before he swats it away with a grunt. You don't see any sign of the bastard. Can I help? What exactly looking for, anyway? Scratches his beard thoughtfully, staring me down with a questioning, almost condescending glare. And you would help me how exactly? Frying it to death? He smirks. Bastard. I pull out my dagger and let the sunlight catch his shiny silver blade. He sighs, clearly not all that impressed. I have no doubt you're deft with your chosen tools, especially if you survived this long in your profession. However, this fella, Agramon, is a fear demon. That sounds painful. He scoffs a laugh and comes to join me in sitting on a broken wall. Just what it says on the tin. I met him once back when I was a young knight. He's a bastard. Makes you feel all prickly and insecure. That's kind of a shit power for a demon. He also has 3 snakes growing out of his torso and 2 pairs of horns, so don't get too complacent if he does appear. Eric shudders, flicking his hand. Is he scared? A big guy like you can't possibly be scared of a silly monster that makes you a little bit uncomfortable? He looks away and pounds beautifully. He, might have made me cry. I don't like crying when it's not of my own volition. I slap a hand over my mouth to stifle a laugh. I'll surely regret it if it manages to escape. It's not funny, you know. I actually think showing your emotions is very attractive. Eric glares at me, looking all wounded and handsome. Then he stands and paces a little bit, so I jump up to join him. I grab his arm to stop him moving around, and he groans ruefully, a smile hooking the corners of his mouth as he surrenders. Sir Eric Nystrom, I pledge you my tiny sword, and I will protect you from the snake monster with both my weapon and my life. Reminds me of Robin Hood Men in Tights. At the end, the rabbi goes to give the King Richard his sword back. He goes, "Here's your knife. sword, whatever. The circle is deep and delicious, the kind of noise that makes our toes curl in their boots. My hero. I can't help the ridiculous smile that breaks out across my face. Seeing him out here like this, dressed down and carefree, makes my heart soar. I move my hand from where it curls at his bicep, bringing it to rest against his chest, feeling firm, solid muscles shifting under the thin cotton of his shirt. He's so warm it gets right down to my bones, thawing me and flooding me with a feeling I can't quite place, but long to discover. He twists his throat and closes his fingers around my wrist, holding me in place. His heart beats fast beneath my palm. I guess there's no demon out here after all. He says it quietly, soft and slow. It soothes. Yes, then, should we go? I watch him watch me, his amber eyes bright in the fading sunlight that slips through the trees like the canopy above us. If you want to, we can stay a bit, just to be sure of the demon. I smile wickedly. Sure, the demon. I want to bask in him for as long as I can. Terrible, murderous, culty dance. That's probably a good idea. Eric nods before I've even finished my sentence. A good idea. Yeah. They've taken both of my hands in his, holding them in his soft palm, and hands that are worth for. Something severe about them, not knowing what they've done and the blood they spilled in the name of the crown that betrayed him. But holding him now, they scarred and freckled and perfect things, it feels like I might not know how to let them go. Let him go. Oh, babies. I press his knuckles against my mouth and stare at the way his breathing kicks. I like what it does to him, a full body shiver and heart flesh deep teeth. He stares me down with parted lips, releasing me and lifting a thumb to press it against the corner of my mouth, letting it glide across my bottom lip. Eric? It makes me feel like I've never done anything wrong. Surely I haven't. Not if I can have moments like this. Me? He hugs a broken laugh. You. He leans in and presses a kiss against the corner of my mouth. My breath pitches, my heart a hammer against my ribs. Then I hear a terrible sound that snaps me from my reverie, something akin to a giggle mixed with slow and passing gas. Oh boy. That's funny. You know, it gets to the point where I just skim through these things to get to the ones that I want. I forgot about these bits. Eric has his sword out of his sheath in a split second. His stance long and wide and terrifying. For the first time, I get to see him in his element, doing what he was born to do, to protect Novus. The demon appears from behind a tree, a twisted grin on its huge mouth filled with too many teeth, his eyes flashing red. Eric wastes no time in surging forward with a battle cry loud enough to send the birds that gather in the trees scattering. He walks Grimon's head off with one fluid swing, falls to the ground and rolls a few times, stopping when it hits my boots. Well, shit. Eric spits on the withering corpse. The snakes that make a home inside its torso slithering away. Doesn't seem bothered about taking them down. He'll go possess another body, I'm sure. Can't keep his bastard down for too long. He slides his sword back to his sheath and shrugs, looking at me expectantly. Well, grab the head then. You what? Is that why you brought me, to carry the fucking trophy? And of course, this is familiar. Eric takes one look at my outstretched face and laughs loudly, his shoulders shaking with the force of it. He practically glows from this light, fireflies dancing the trees behind him, the epitome of a golden hero. I can't really be mad at the prospect of lugging that thing's head home when he looks like that. Just happy, carefree, not a single worry stacked on his broad shoulders. Nah, just kidding. We'll kick him. Like a ball? Eric nods and nudges the head with the toe of his boot. Sure, I'm not touching him. Are you? I laugh in his face. Exactly. Come on. As he begins walking, I step to catch up with him, reaching out and lacing our fingers with little thought. Feels natural. Feels right. He looks down at our hands and smiles, and we take this bastard's head all the way back into the city. We ride back in Novus come nightfall, and Eric leaves me at the tavern, wandering into the woods to deliver the demon's head to collect his bounty. To my surprise, I find Raiden at the fire, sitting back and taking the veil. He looks tired and weirdly sad, but he waves enthusiastically when he sees me. Where have you been? You smell like a demon's arsehole. Funny you should say that. I just kicked one severed head all the way from the outskirts. He hums. Eric? Yeah, he's quite strong, isn't he? Raiden nods enthusiastically, raising his finger to drain the dregs before slamming it on the bar and signaling for a refill. My idol, you want one? Yes, please. I nod eagerly. A little drink is just what I need to soothe the existential dread that's starting to creep up on me. Yes, definitely. Nemesis flashed down 2 overfilled drinks, the frothy head spilling over the sides and making our fingers sticky. Raiden sucks his clean, the brute. Cheers. We stare him down, noting his lack of energy as he sips his drink, the knot between his brow an angry one. What's bothering you? He licks his teeth, his knuckles bleeding white where he holds the handle so tightly, I'm afraid it might snap. Bad things are coming. I don't know if we can stop them, but I also don't think it's our job to. I place my hand on top of his. Well, we'll fight it together, whatever it is. What if we agree with whatever they're doing? We'll decide when the time comes if it's our battle. I guess he groans, squeezing my hand once, hard. My blade is an extension of me. Without it and my contract, I'm just another street urchin with no parents or fortune, or I'd probably be long dead. It's the thing that keeps me clothed and fed, and my hops might be shit, but it's mine. I've always seen it as a cost of living, the killing, but sometimes stuff happens that makes me see the bigger picture. Stuff like monsters and maybe gods coming to end it all? Exactly that. Sorry, I'm just tired, I think. Feels like there's more to it than that. You can tell me, you know? Swallows loudly, and I watch the bob of his throat, the vicious scar that cuts through it, shifting, shining silver. I wonder who did that to him. Who came so terribly close to snapping out his brilliant light. Then he looks at me with those earnest brown eyes, and I'm caught. Sometimes I go months where the only contact I get is when I'm killing someone. He sighs, softly and shaking his head like the concept of craving the touch of another human in a less gruesome context than murder is ridiculous. It's stupid, I know, I like it. The warmth of skin on skin, I don't hide it very well, or so I've been told. He looks at me then, his face getting all soft, kind almost. I like touching the most. When I reach for you and you reach right back, it makes you feel a little safer, a little more real. Ray, I like it when you call me that. Then he jumps up, his stool scraping obnoxiously against the floor, and suddenly his vulnerability is gone, replaced with the brass bold Raiden I'm so used to. Right, come on. Come on where? He heads for the door, marching with great purpose. To the lake, my favorite spot. It's perfect on a night like this. Perfect for what exactly? Swimming. Oh boy. I have been debating this ever since I started doing this stream. Because on one hand, I do want to go to the lake with Raiden, but on the other hand, I have my own reasons for not following through. Swimming at this hour? Absolutely not. Raiden pouts impressively, cracking his head. Suit yourself then, I'll go alone. You can't go alone what if you bump into them? He shrugs and pats his back, where I assume he keeps his dagger. I'm a big boy, I can handle myself. Raiden, please go home. I'm tired, and I'd rather you didn't get murdered without my supervision. He snort laughs, clutching his chest as if wounded. I survived this time without you. Barely. Fine, but only because we're partners now, and I want to keep you on my good side, got it? Good. We walk outside together, and I bid him farewell, agreeing that we'll meet here in the morning to head to the guild and really begin our self-informed mission. I don't know if he'll actually go home, but I can hope. I feel impossibly tired when I eventually get home, my bed calling out to me like a beacon. I fall face first onto the mattress and plan to roll over and maybe get undressed, but keep falling and falling. And then I open my eyes. Gee, this looks familiar. Is this a dream? blackened, menacing trees rise around me. The sky is thickly green. My home. Life looks down at me, illuminating a path I don't want to take. The glow not artificial, but natural in a way that frightens instead of comforts. Catherine Kadir at last. And done. End of chapter. Yeah, so the reason I didn't choose to go with Raiden is we will soon pick the romance. In chapter 4 we get to pick who we're romancing, and the way I plan to do it is based on who the character was last with, and I'm not going to romance Raiden and Lucy on my Nomad. So I thought it would be easiest to just have them go home rather than go swimming with Raiden, because then I would basically have to pick Raiden. So you can guess based on what happened with Raheem and Ehab, who I will be romancing on them. But yeah, so now you know who I'm going to be romancing on them. I mean, I couldn't tell for sure because I was picking all the third options regardless. Because it's fun. Because why not? And that's one of the great things about the Lunaris Games visual novels. Is you can flirt with everybody and no one will get pissed if you don't pick them. So there's a lovely CG that we missed out on by not going swimming with Raiden. It's a little on the risque side, so that was another reason for not picking that. Oh, and these are the other two CGs. This one we're going to see later. But this one is Lunar. It would be Ambassador Matt. But yeah, this is it for now. Finish chapter 3 on the Nomad. So I will continue this next week. I will start doing the chapter 4 on each of the routes. And we'll get to find out about this creepy place and what's going on and what the fuck. But I'm trying not to give anything away. So yeah, I hope you all have a good week, and my plan is to stream the When Night Comes revamp starting on Sunday. So you can join me for that, and if you're not interested, just join me next Wednesday for more of Errant Kingdom. So take care, everyone. Bye.